Hello peeps, welcome back to Big Deck Player. Today we are taking a look at a fancy new priest deck that I found. This I found on hearthstone.com and it's called Shimmering Light. And this was posted by somebody called Lux_EU. They've done a really good description of how to best play this deck, and I will try my best to relay that information and explain it with visual aids. That's the benefit of video. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have in the deck. So let's take a look at removal. We have Shadow Word Death. We have 2 Shadow Word Deaths, and that's, along with Holy Fire, is pretty much it. We've also got a couple of Holy Novas for a little bit of AoE, but there's not a huge amount of removal. But then priests in general don't have huge amounts of removal anyway. But there's no Holy Smites, there's no Shadow Word Pains, there's no Mind Blasts, nothing like that. It's more focused on having lots of minions out, and strong minions as well. Okay, so we've got 2 Circle of Healings, which restores 4 health to all minions, which is a great combo for when you have an Authorship Cleric out, because whenever a minion is healed, you can draw a card. We've got 2 of those. And it's also good for when you bring out an Injured Blade Master, because you can turn 3, or even turn 2 if you've got the coin, you can bring out an Injured Blade Master, and because Circle of Healing doesn't cost you anything, you can heal your Injured Blade Master from 3 health up to 7, up to full on one go, which is pretty awesome. Okay, we've also got 2 Ancient Watchers. Now, I've never really been a big fan of this card particularly, just because of the main fact that it can't attack unless you silence it. But we have got 2 Sun Fury Protectors, so that gives it a taunt, which is pretty useful. Also, we do have 1 Defender of Argus, which can also give it taunt. Obviously, you have to be a bit careful when you're coming up against other priests, because Ancient Watcher already has 4 attack. You might not want to use a Defender of Argus with an Ancient Watcher, because obviously of Shadow Word Death. As soon as you give it 5 attack, then it moves into that kind of range for Shadow Word Death. So it might be best to just use the Sun Fury Protectors if you come up against a priest, but otherwise I think you're pretty much good to go with the Defender of Argus as well. Okay, we've got a couple of Thought Steals, which is a great card. I love this card in the priest deck, because you get an idea of what the other person has in their deck and what they might be using. But recently I found that it either goes 2 ways when I use this card. I either get rubbish that, you know, is like, I think I was playing a hunter and I got the 1/1 boar with charge and a explosive trap, which was pretty useful, but at the time it wasn't what I wanted. But then sometimes I've used Thought Steal and I've picked out a Ragnaros or a Ysera, so that's pretty useful, and I love that card. As I say, it also means you can use their own cards against them, which is pretty fun. As I mentioned earlier, we've got 2 Injured Blade Masters for the fact that we have Circle of Healing and we can heal him up. And if we can combo it with the Northshire Cleric, it's a great card for the value that it costs. We have 1 Organized Soul Priest, which gives you the ability to use your hero power to do 2 damage, and that's 2 damage to anything. So you can do 2 damage to the enemy hero, or to enemy minions, or even your own cards if you really want to, I suppose. We've got 2 Chillwind Yetis, because why not? Chillwind Yetis are pretty awesome cards. 1 Defender of Argus, as I mentioned before. We've got 1 Faceless Manipulator, which can be pretty awesome, especially if your opponent brings out a big card. If you've got no means, maybe you've got nothing in your hand that can really get rid of it. Say you're against a druid, brings out a Stonebark Protector, an 8 with taunt. Maybe you don't have any Shadow Word Death in your hand at the time. Faceless Manipulator, and then all of a sudden his 8/8 taunt is now also your 8/8 taunt, and it kind of cancels each other out, which is pretty useful. We have one Cabal Shadow Priest, because quite often this is not all that useful, especially because most of the things that have 2 or less attack are low cost. So sometimes by the time you get to 6 mana, they're not bringing out anything that has 2 or less attack. I guess it could be useful with some certain enemies, but I haven't found huge amounts of use for that. It is still a 4/5, which is pretty good, but I don't think it's worth using unless you can make use of that battle cry. We've got one mind control, just the one. I think so far I haven't actually needed more than one mind control when I've been playing this deck, so that's pretty cool. And then we've got 3 legendaries in this deck, which is a bit more than what I normally include in these decks when I do big deck player, because I know that sometimes it's nice to be able to find decks that are cheap, but I like this deck and I've had fun with it. So there's a Cairn Bloodhoof, which is 4/5, again awesome against priests, because as soon as it's dead there's another 4/5 to deal with. So it's basically like having 2 Chillwind Yetis. So having 2 Chillwind Yetis on the board. We've got a Ragnaros the Firelord, because Ragnaros is awesome. And we have a Ysera, because again, Ysera is awesome. So that's that. Ysera can be awesome if you combine it with a Defender of Argus or a Sunfury Protector if you get really stuck towards endgame, just because of the sheer amount of health that she's got. As can Ragnaros, which is pretty awesome. So I was playing somebody the other day who silenced Ragnaros, forgetting that by doing that it meant that I could attack with him instead. And yeah, so that didn't really work out for him. So there we go, that's the Shimmering Light deck. Let's take a look at it in action, shall we? Okay, so we're against a Warlock. Unfortunately, that starting hand is pretty bad, so we'll ditch the 2 legendaries. I'm tempted to keep the Defender of Argus just because I know we've only got 1 in the deck, and the Northshire Cleric will keep as well because it's a 1 cost and we might be able to use it. And 2 Chillwind Yetis. Brilliant. Not the ideal start. We're up against a Warlock, so I imagine he's probably going to play lots of low cost creatures and try and rush. So yeah, I think I'm just going to put this Northshire Cleric out for the time being. Hopefully he doesn't have any spells that will get rid of it straight away. I guess he could have a is it Soulfire? If he's got any sense, he'll go for me. Yeah. Okay. I still don't have much to do, so I'll hit him for 1. I'll heal her up. Get a card draw out of it at least. This deck works well more in the late game, but I think that's the same for most priest decks. And he's going to just try and rush me down, which is fine. I think we're going to have to coin. Let's get one of our Chillwind Yetis out, and we'll pass the turn. Playing a priest at the moment is quite difficult because the longer the match goes on, the better your chances of winning. But a lot of the meta game at the moment is about rushing your opponent and doing as much damage to your opponent as quickly as possible, especially with Warlock decks. As you can see, he's probably just going to go straight for my face. He's not even trying to trade. Could really use a Holy Nova right now, but I'm not going to get one, am I? Okay. Let's see. I think... What to do, what to do. I might just use the Sun Fury Protector to give that taunt. Oh, now we have a Holy Nova. Okay, well I'll save that for next turn. This is the only way to really counter the current meta, is to put taunts into your deck. And he still ignores. Wow. Okay. Not ideal. Okay, let's use the Holy Nova. But I think that's probably it. I think that's probably GG. Maybe not. Okay. What can we do here? Can we do anything? I think. Let's put him out. Let's put her out. We'll kill that off. We'll heal that back up. Okay. that required some brain power. We're hanging on. Bad card draw at the start really didn't help. But we're hanging on by the skin of our teeth. I don't know if he's going to be able to do much about this. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay, we've got 7. So if I use that to kill off this, that will give me 8 health, which is good because I needed the extra health. And I will what to do? Kill off that. We'll kill off that. And we're still in the game. We're still in the game, and he's running out of options, and I still have quite a lot. Yeah, I can do that too. I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Let's put the Chillwind Yeti out, and let's Defender of Argus the Yeti. Yep, I think that's okay. Man, this is a tight game. This is really tight. I bet he thought he had me, but one good thing about the priest is that you can heal. If I was playing any other class, I'd be screwed. Not sure what the point of him using that card was particularly. So that's weird. So I think I'm probably just going to Holy Nova. Actually, what I'll do is, have I got enough mana? Yeah, I'll put Injured Blade Master out, and then I'll Holy Nova to kill off those two. It'll heal him. It'll heal me for a couple as well. Okay, we're slowly clawing back. There we go. Wow. Okay. Don't call it a comeback. Wow, I really didn't expect to win that one. But it just shows you that this deck can beat the current meta. We didn't have the best start by any means. It would have been nice to have got some of those Ancient Watchers and stuff earlier on, so we could have built up the taunt earlier, rather than taking all that damage as quickly as we did. But that's what the current meta is about at the moment, is doing as much damage to your enemy hero as possible. And there's not much out there that can really counter it if your opponent gets the cards that they need. And when you come across a Warlock, because their hero power allows them to draw cards, it's a lot easier for them to do it. But Priests can counter it. If they can stick around for a slightly longer game, they can win. So that's been the Shimmering Light deck. I'll put a link in the description so you can go and check it out for yourself on hearthstone.com. And thanks for watching. If you decide to use this deck, let me know how you get on. If you make any videos using this deck, send me a link via Twitter and I'll check it out. Again, thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.